Alright, what is up guys? Losermaniac here, and welcome back to another video. And today, I got some shit I want to talk about. I've been playing a lot of Mass Effect recently, so I've noticed that there was some really weird stuff that makes absolutely no sense. Alright? First of all, let's start with one that was kind of weird for me. Okay, so, in Mass Effect 2, if you talk with Miranda, she constantly mentions that she was genetically altered to be perfect in some way, that she was made to be perfect. One of the things that she mentions, if you romance her, I don't know about Legendary Edition. One thing she mentions is that her dad paid for her biotics, which means that she's naturally the best. But she also has but one of the things they don't mention is the fact that she's a sentinel. And we know this because a sentinel is a combination of both biotics and tech, which is what Kaidan is. Kaidan is a sentinel, which means he has some tech powers as well as some biotic powers. But yet there's no mention of that anywhere. We just assume she's a biotic because that's all she ever talks about. And the reason I mention this is because in Mass Effect 3, another biotic that we know of is Rex. Rex, Miranda, and Jacob are all biotics in some capacity. Not as advanced as Samara, Jack, or Liara, but they are definitely biotics, no less. Which means that Samara, Jack, Liara all have barriers because they are biotics, but so does Miranda, Jacob, and Rex. I think, if I remember properly. But you know who doesn't have biotic barriers is Kaidan. I swear to God, he doesn't have biotic barriers. I don't get it. I don't know. I don't know why he doesn't. When he's basically Miranda is a damn sentinel, just like Kaidan. Yes, she has barriers and he doesn't. Now it could be because of the fact that, mentioned before in Mass Effect 2, her dad paid for her biotics, which means that she is more skilled in biotics than tech. But still, she's a biotic, and so is Kaidan. He has an L2 implant, so therefore he should have biotic barriers, which he doesn't have. Even in Mass Effect 1, one of the skills that he has is barrier, meaning that he should have biotic barriers, but he doesn't. I even think he has some. I think that's also a skill in Mass Effect 3. Also, is barrier. Um, but it doesn't make sense because barrier. Because if you play as an adept character, I think that also goes for Vanguard. I'm not really sure, but the point is if you play an adept character, you have barrier, and then in 2 and 3 you have biotic barriers already. So what is the point of giving Miranda and Jacob, and hell even Rex, barriers if you're not gonna give them to Kaidan? Also, I don't. I don't know why I said also. It just makes no sense. And is Jacob a better biotic than Miranda? Because all he has is barriers, or he has biotics, but the only difference is that he has incendiary ammo. So does that mean that he's more biotic, or is he more Vanguard? I don't get it. I need answers. I understand that this is a game, so not everything's perfect, but I mean, come on, I need answers. Is Jacob more of a biotic than Miranda is? Because if so, then it would make sense for Jacob to have more, it would make sense for Jacob to have barriers and not Miranda. I think Miranda has shields in the games, which means that the only people who have barriers is, I think, Jack and Samara, maybe Jacob because he has more biotic abilities than Miranda does. Kinda to some extent. I mean, he doesn't have a tech ability. Hold on. Actually, I think he'd be a Sentinel also, or a Vanguard. I'm not sure, but still, if Jacob has. By the way, if you ask me, I think Jacob's better than Miranda by the biotics area, just because Slam is pretty weird. Anyways, although he has pull. Never mind. I think Miranda's better because warp is pretty good to have. Anyways, getting off track here. So yeah, and then so like this has bugged me for the longest time ever. I never understood um why Kaden doesn't have barriers, yet Miranda does, and Jacob for that matter. Also, whatever happened to Jack trying to kill Miranda? It was just a one-time thing and then it never happens. Granted, Jack still hates Miranda, but what happened? Like you don't question either of them. Like, have you seen Miranda? You don't walk up to Jack and be like, have you seen Miranda at all since you left? Or you don't hear from Miranda like, yo, Jack tried to kill me. There's none of that. Do they just like gloss over it? Like, oh right, Miranda was trying to kill Jack. Or Jack was trying to kill Miranda. The only time it's ever mentioned is in the Citadel DLC. If you keep the party energetic, at one point Miranda and Jack will be at like one of the back bars together. And then Jack will mention like, "Hey, I'm not trying to smear the walls with this bitch tonight." So I don't know if she still hates Miranda or if it's just like a joke or whatever. But it's never mentioned after that. Meaning meaning that they somehow made it to where Jack was probably intended to kill Miranda, but it just never happens. That's a pretty dumb thing to happen. You're just like, yeah, let's make Jack want to kill Miranda, and then let's just not talk about it again. Also, another thing that weirds me out is why is Jacob a romantic option? Like, this isn't like me hating on Jacob. Like, this is coming from a guy who refuses to romance Ashley. It's gonna happen anyways. I'm trying to experiment with some of the romances. The only one I've ever experimented outside of Liara and Miranda is Kaden. Like, that's it. That's the only one I've ever gone from outside of the game. Out of the first game. Other than that, yeah, no one else. No one else. So I've only done Miranda, Liara, and Kaden. I'm falling way behind. I got obsessed. That's the problem. But yeah, but like, why is he romantic? Why is he a romantic option? Why is Thane a romantic option? Also, I don't get it. Because he's married, but you know who? Well, Steve Cortez is also, but I'll get to that in a moment. But like Jacob, he's not a romantic option in the third game like he is in the second. So why is he? Why is he a love interest? And what happened? There had to have been. And why did it happen with female Shepherd? Why couldn't there have been one for like male Shepherd? Like, I don't know, Miranda breaks up with you because she's too busy trying to chase down her sister. Like, there's none of that. Although, that would have made all of the playthroughs with Miranda so much easier to just deal with. But yeah, but like I feel like although between like Miranda and Jacob, I feel like no, Miranda would have made more sense. Female Shepherd has to flirt, like aggressively flirt with Jacob, so it shows that she's more interested in him than he is of her. But whatever. Sorry, I thought I heard something going on out there. I'm home alone with a dog. Um, so I thought someone was talking. But yeah, it just seems strange as to why Jacob would be a love interest. Granted, there aren't really that much to go off of. Because if you take away Jacob, you still have Garrus and Thane. So they had to add three. But I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I guess I get it, but at the end of the day, why didn't they just keep going with Jacob? And they also, I heard somewhere that like some of the people behind the love interest really didn't like Tally. So if you didn't like Tally, then why did you keep it going? Although I guess a lot of people like Tally, I don't get it. I'm not gonna lie. Granted, I haven't romanced her yet, but I've seen videos and I just don't get it. I kind of understand it, but not to that extent of like you must keep her going. Like I, I don't know. um, that's it's weird to think about. And why is and again why is Thane a romantic option? Just because of the fact that like, and I mostly say that because he is married. Like that's it. He's married. Like you're willing to replace his wife, but again I guess that also extends to Steve Cortez. He was married. And then his husband died and whatnot. But still, kind of whenever I talk about Thane, just know I'm kind of talking about Steve in some way. Well, except for like maybe Mass Effect 3 because Thane dies like no matter what. If As long as he survives the suicide mission and you talk with Thane, then he dies. Like he dies no matter what. But Cortez you can actually save. But there was a thing at one point where I remember hearing that this Mark Meir, the person behind Mail Shepard, the voice behind Mail Shepard, in the Vorcha, I had no idea. That's pretty cool to think about. He voices the Vorcha. He said that there was a voice line that was gonna be added, or that he screams whenever he screams like Steve or whatnot. It was gonna be because like he dies and you romance him, but that kind of begs the question as to how could he be romanced and still die? Because the only way for you to romance him is if you convince him to leave for the Citadel, or if convinced to leave the Normandy and take shore leave on the Citadel, and then you meet him on the Citadel. And he talks about the memorial up in Docking Bay D24, or the Holding Bay D24. And then you meet him at the memorial, and then after the Citadel Part 2 attack, or during this attack on the Citadel, you meet him at Purgatory, and then you have a few laughs, a few drinks, and then you make out and leave. And then boom, he's romanced. So you do all that, but that also saves him if you don't romance him, or if you're just a female. If you do all that, well, minus making out, because maybe you want to romance, maybe you want to keep your romance with Tali or Jack or Miranda going. Although it'd be easier to save your romance with Jack than romance Steve. I romanced Miranda last playthrough, and then so I figured out how to like keep Steve alive. So the whole time I was just like, don't screw this up, don't screw this up. Thankfully, I did save my romance with Miranda, but still, to like lock in your romance with any of these, like especially like Miranda, it is a long time to do. You have to go through all of these characters that you like that can be romanceable, such as like Cortez, Liara, Ashley, or Kaidan. If you love those characters, but you want to stay with Miranda, it's gonna be a tough thing to do. Tali and like Jack are pretty easy because you have to romance them in the second game. But if you romance Miranda, they'll be pretty easy to go through because they're not interested anyways. But yeah, like having to like deny Ashley, Kaidan, and Liara is such a tough thing to do. Which is why I was originally gonna romance Ashley after my Miranda playthrough, but then I just wanted to romance Liara. I don't know why. I just went from like wanting to. I think it was the Goodbyes for Earth. That was probably it. Just the Goodbyes for Earth is like, oof. I gotta go back and romance Liara one more time. Although after this, I may go back and romance more. No, I promised myself I'll romance Ashley. Speaking of which, why are so many romance options or love interests? And why are barely any of them usable? Samara is barely usable. Kelly is unusable. Diana is like a fling type ordeal. And I could care less about Morinth. So yeah, why have these love interests if they're gonna be barely used? Like I know I complained last time that Miranda is barely usable, but even then, you know whose least used love interest is Kelly Chambers. She is the like not least used per se. Like a lot of people like her, I think, but she barely does. She doesn't show up on the Citadel DLC. Granted, Even though she's on the Citadel, you could easily have her. And why make Diana like a fleeing ordeal? Like, what was the point of that? I still have yet to have an interest in Diana. Or Diane Aller. Is it Diana Allers? Fuck. I don't know. Whatever it is. You guys get the point. Allers, per se. Yeah, why is she one? What was the point of adding her in the first place? Yeah. I'm trying to... There's probably a lot of other stuff I find weird. But at the moment, that's pretty much all I can think of is romances, because I think romance is like an important part of this game, just because it adds more to the story. But still, I don't know. I wish that with Legendary Edition you could add more to with Kelly, but there really isn't much you could do. Although I do watch a lot of like what is it, Mass Effect videos, a lot of romance videos. That's how I know about Tali, the romance, and how I just think it's weird. Or that's kind of how I managed the whole Kaidan romance, because I thought it was different than the rest, but as it turns out, it's not really. It's just it's just like talk to them after like every major planet. That's how I managed to romance Liara the first time I just watched YouTube. And then with Miranda, I experimented, which means that I got that whole now I'm busy shit with her before, so the whole time I'm like, she's gonna tell me she's busy. I don't like this. She never did after that. And then I know like you can experiment with this stuff, but I just rather not. I'm trying to think if there's like any other stuff that I should that I find weird, but that's about all I can think of at the moment. Oh yeah, another thing I find weird is, so in the first game, the conduit is the Citadel, okay, and then there's no mention of any special weapon in the second game aside from like the Reaper IFF maybe, but that's about it. And then the third game, it takes this long to figure out what the catalyst is, which should have been obvious that if the Citadel was the conduit the first time, then maybe somehow it would play an important role in the third game as being the catalyst. Why is this not mentioned? Why did it take the... Liara, as smart as she is, could have been like, well, could it be on the off chance be the Citadel? It was the conduit before. And it's pretty obvious that it was the Citadel if you play the first game, for a few reasons. One, you get information of the fact that the conduit is the Citadel from a Prothean VI. And then it's a Prothean the catalyst is a Prothean device, not device, is a Prothean device that Javik somehow knows of but doesn't know what the catalyst is. And no one could piece together the fact that maybe the Citadel could be the catalyst. I mean, look at all that open space. What do you think that's for? It's there for something. I'll tell you what it's there for the Crucible. You're freaking waiting on the Crucible, and no one cares to mention the fact that the Citadel, it took this long for you to notice, or for them to realize that the Citadel was the whole thing the whole time. Are you kidding me? It should be pretty obvious, judging by the Keepers as well. The Keepers try and rebuild the Citadel so many times, not because it's important to them, but because it is important to the whole damn story and the war that's going on. What? Now look, maybe it's just me and the fact that I pieced it together so late in the game, but it should have been that obvious that the Citadel is the catalyst in the Crucible. Especially considering the fact that they're fighting Cerberus in the third game, and the Elusive Man is working with the Reapers. So it should have been obvious that they needed something related to the Reapers. And consider the fact that Saren led both the Geth and Sovereign, which was a Reaper, in the first place, which the fight took place at the damn Citadel. So it should have been obvious that somehow the Catalyst and the Conduit were the same damn thing. The only difference is you have the Crucible, meaning that it is the Catalyst. At this point in time, like, what the Elusive Man has made is the Conduit. Kinda, I think. I can't remember. Or maybe it's just the Citadel. Because I remember hearing that, like, maybe the Conduit is the Citadel, so maybe that's the Catalyst is it's home to the Citadel, or it's home to the Catalyst, but still, like, it should have been easy to piece together that it's both Reaper technology and Prothean. Well, I think it's more Prothean technology than Reaper. I don't know. But the point is that the Citadel, it plays a major role in the game, and no one could figure out that especially considering the fact that the Citadel gets destroyed in the first game, or yeah, somewhat destroyed in the first game. Then it should have been obvious to the fact that the Catalyst is the Citadel, but no one is like, maybe the Citadel is the Catalyst. No, they're just like, yo, there's something we need from Cerberus. Cerberus has us trapped. We need to delay time for the Crucible because we don't know what the Catalyst is, so let's just go here. Should have been obvious. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. Maybe there's something I'm missing as to why they wouldn't know that the Catalyst was the Citadel. But it makes the most sense as to why it would be obvious that the Citadel is the Catalyst. Although I do remember at one point Big Dan Gaming made a video talking about, like, different, like, ideas that the game had. Like, Liara was supposed to die at Thessia. Ashley works at Kai Lang. One of the ones that was mentioned was that Javik was the Catalyst. Which I'm kind of confused as to how that would have played out. Maybe he's... I don't know. Because the Catalyst plays a big role in the ending. Because after the Crucible is docked at the Citadel, then that's when the Catalyst comes out. So I think that, like, maybe he would have been like a sacrifice or something, or it's like, this is my true form. I don't know. There's a lot of that's a lot of talking from me. So yeah, at the moment, this is all the things that I find weird about Mass Effect. Yeah, I'm just trying to think if there was anything else that has to be other stuff. I'll have to pay attention to other games and whatnot, but as far as I know, that's about all the stuff I find weird about this game, or kind of confusing about this game. Mostly confusing. So yeah, if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. If you do subscribe, hit that bell notification to be notified when I upload, because I don't have a schedule. Also, leave a comment down below. Do you guys have any, like, weird things that kind of confuse you about Mass Effect? Let me know, because maybe I'm just the only one that has these sort of, like, ideas of, like, well, what about this or this? So yeah, Loser Maniac out.